I think it's time we're honest about the future of this family. My stepfather raises his glass. The restaurant goes quiet. We're in a private room in downtown Chicago. White tablecloths, gold candles flickering. My master's graduation dinner. My mother beams at him like he's about to give a blessing. He clears his throat. While we're proud of both girls, he says, glancing at me, it's clear Madison has the stronger mindset for leadership. My sister straightens in her chair. And after careful thought, he continues, Madison will be taking over the family future. Ava, he smiles tightly, you're brilliant, but you're too emotional for business. A few awkward laughs. My mother starts clapping. Clapping. I feel every eye on me. I smile, slowly. Then I stand up, smooth my dress, and tap my glass. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight, I say calmly. And since we're making announcements, I'd like to introduce someone special. The doors open behind them. And I'm proud to say, I continue, the company that just funded my startup has also quietly acquired 60% of my stepfather's. The investor steps in. My stepfather's face drains. My mother stops clapping. My name is Ava Reynolds. I'm 26, and I'm telling this because sometimes the people who doubt you the loudest are the ones standing on ground you already own. I wasn't always too emotional. That label came later. I grew up in Naperville, Illinois, in a big house that looked perfect from the outside. My biological father passed away when I was 10. 2 years later, my mom married Daniel Whitmore. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't slam doors. He smiled. That was worse. He slowly took over my dad's small manufacturing company and rebuilt it. Everyone praised him, but behind closed doors, he made sure I understood something. This company is built on logic, not feelings. Madison, my younger sister, was his golden child. Calm, quiet, always agreeing. She studied business because he suggested it. I studied tech innovation at the University of Illinois. That's risky, he said. You're too idealistic. Translation, you won't survive. I didn't argue. Instead, I worked. While Madison interned at Daniel's company, I built a logistics software prototype. It optimized small factory supply chains. Smart, not flashy. When I showed it to Daniel, interesting, he said, but real businesses aren't run by apps. Then he invested $200,000 into expanding Madison's department. That night, I stared at the ceiling. Too emotional. That's when I stopped arguing inside the house and started building outside of it. I moved to Chicago for grad school and rarely came home. During my master's program, I refined my software into something powerful, Streamline X. Small factories could reduce waste by up to 18% in the first quarter. One of the companies that adopted it, Daniel's biggest supplier. He had no idea. By Thanksgiving, he bragged about rising profits. Madison smiled like she helped. I stayed quiet. 3 months ago, I pitched Streamline X to a private equity group in Chicago, not for money, for leverage. 2 weeks ago, they made a strategic acquisition offer, not to me, to Daniel. He declined, proudly. So they went another route, acquiring shares quietly from stakeholders who were tired of Daniel's control. Yesterday, they crossed 60% ownership. Daniel still thinks he runs the company. He doesn't know I'm Chief Strategy Officer. He definitely doesn't know the restructuring plan already lists my software as the backbone. When he called me emotional tonight, I almost laughed. Patience built this. Timing built this. And now the room knows who owns the ground. I spent months preparing, not with anger, but with precision. Step 1, complete my education while building credibility. Master's done, check. Step 2, perfect the software so it was irresistible to investors and businesses alike. Check. Step 3, negotiate the acquisition behind the scenes. The key was secrecy.
If Daniel ever smelled it, he would have stalled, sabotaged, or tried to buy me out. I reached out to private equity groups in Chicago and New York, showing them projections, market influence, and client data. Only one investor seemed interested, but he wanted control. Perfect. Control meant leverage. Step 4, legal positioning. I hired an attorney to ensure all acquisitions and contracts gave me full operational authority once the majority shares transferred. Every clause carefully worded. Daniel would be powerless to contest the vote. Step 5, psychological preparation. If the reveal was messy, it could backfire. People had to see the shift without any ambiguity. Daniel needed to believe he was untouchable until the exact moment. Step 6, the public setting. Graduation dinner, family and a few close friends. A place where Daniel's ego would be inflated, where he would perform dominance publicly. The irony of using his stage against him made me smirk every night in preparation. Step 7, rehearsal. I practiced the announcement dozens of times in front of the mirror, adjusting tone, eye contact, pacing. My body language needed to scream powerful, calm, untouchable. I worked with my friend and former classmate, Tyler Grant, who helped coordinate the investor's appearance. He drove him to the restaurant at the perfect time, texting me the exact minute the doors opened. Timing was everything. Everything else was patience. The moment Daniel raised his glass tonight, I felt a strange calm. He thought he controlled the narrative, that he had already cemented Madison as heir. The restaurant lights reflected on his polished shoes. I could see the pride in his smirk. I waited, listened, smiled. When he called me emotional, I felt a ripple of adrenaline, but I stayed poised. And then I stood, clear, slow, deliberate. The words rolled out smoothly, introducing the investor and revealing the acquisition. I watched Daniel's eyes widen, his jaw stiffen. My mother's applause froze midair. Madison's face drained.
The shock was perfect. He tried to interject, to explain, to deny, but I cut him off gently. "Daniel, perhaps this is a good moment to welcome the change," I said. No one laughed. No one moved. The room's silence confirmed authority. The investor handed me a folder, signed, sealed, effective immediately. Daniel's fingers twitched. He had just realized the public truth. The majority was mine. He blinked. Madison whispered, "How?" I smiled at them both. "The details are always behind the scenes," I said. "Sometimes the quietest ones are the loudest at the finish line." After dinner, Daniel refused to speak to me. He avoided the living room for days. My mother stayed quiet, awkwardly pretending it wasn't a coup. Madison never looked at me the same. The company? Streamline X integrated within a month. Factories saw instant improvements. Stakeholders, finally fed up with Daniel's ego, supported the changes. Daniel was given the title of advisor, symbolic, powerless. Madison? She stayed in her department but no longer led anything. I did not gloat. I did not rub it in. Every victory was silent, precise, clean. I learned something crucial. You don't need confrontation to win. You need strategy, timing, and absolute confidence in your plan. Weeks later, my mother finally spoke. "Ava, I didn't understand until tonight. You really are capable." I smiled. "It wasn't about capability, Mom. It was about the right timing." For me, revenge wasn't about anger. It was about correcting the narrative, taking what was rightfully mine, owning my future. I kept my relationships intact where I could, left the unnecessary drama behind, and focused on growing the company further. Daniel watches me in board meetings now, polite but quiet. No sneers, no manipulations. Madison tries to argue points, but I run operations calmly, without emotion clouding decisions. At night, I sometimes replay the dinner scene in my head, the silence, the shock, the subtle nods of approval from stakeholders.
I won not because I was aggressive, but because I was smart, patient, and prepared. And that, I realized, was worth far more than anyone could ever take from me.